Hi, welcome to PROWcast, a space where we can learn a little bit more about our professional referral organization of women. I'm Karen Ann Jacks, and today's guest is Tracie Walker. Hi, Tracie.
Hi, Karen Ann. How are you today?
Wonderful. Thank you so much for doing this with me.
Oh,
And
no, thank you for reaching out and asking me to be a part of the PROCast.
absolutely,
I've
yeah,
never done one of these, so I'm very excited.
good, good. I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm really excited. So with Pro, how long have you been a member of Pro?
I've been a member of PRO since 2011, and Misty Parker asked me to come and visit with PRO even years before that. And in fact, I think you were at one of the very first meetings that I ever attended. And but I couldn't become a member because she and I shared the same category. And
Yes.
then she moved over into a different part of the oil and gas. And so I was able to then come in and have the category that she had held as she changed her category. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. You've brought so much to the group too, with
oh, thank
your
you.
leadership roles, your management experience, your sales experience. But I guess we're going to talk. I want to ask you a little bit more about your career path.
Okay.
What Tell me about it. What was your career path? I
Well,
know
it
who
was
goes to school and says, "Oh, I want to do sales for in the oil and gas."
yeah, in fact, most people say, I don't want to do sales. I don't like sales. I don't like anything about it. So I actually started my career. I actually worked in a laboratory in the oil and gas on the very far downstream sector where I actually did analysis in a laboratory. And then I had a couple of kids and was home for a while. And when I went back, I didn't want to go back into the laboratory itself, just for safety reasons at that time. I had had some experiences that weren't so positive when I worked in the laboratory.
Mhm.
And so I went into the office side where I was actually putting together reports of analysis for clients. And then I would start to have conversations with those clients about the reports, what they meant, doing QC checks on those reports, making sure that the data all made sense and looked correct. And then from there, I kind of started doing more project management. So those same clients would then send in their next project and they would reach out and we would have a conversation about what they were trying to accomplish and what they needed from that. And so we would help design those analytical programs for them and then give the reports. And then from there, the next time they had a project, they would say, hey, can you put together a proposal for me? And so then I started putting together the proposals based on those projects. And then it became, well, you should go meet with that client in person. And so I kind of fell into sales, right? It was just a path that I hadn't anticipated taking. And then I found myself then like, hey, can you go also talk to this company that we haven't done work for before? And so then it kind of just started into the sales role. And from there, I had done, so that was environmental analytical analysis. And then a company reached out to see if I would want to join them to do core analysis in the environmental world, which is actually where I met Misty.
Misty.
We
Yeah.
actually worked for the same organization,
Mhm.
but I was on the environmental side and she was on the exploration and production side. And so then from there, we actually both, she moved to another organization. And then 6 months later, I followed her. And that's when I went into more of the exploration and production side of the oil and gas industry and
Mhm.
strictly in sales. And then in 2011, I was officially given the title of sales manager. But let me say, I'd been doing that job for a couple of years before I ever got there. I was already doing the training of all new employees that came in and putting together programs to make sure that the training was appropriate and that they would know what they were doing as we onboarded them. So I'd been doing that. And then in 2016, I was offered the role for international sales manager. So I took that role on
I
where I
remember
started,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
working with clients around the world, right? And with teams around the world. But what they had originally asked for was to take what I had done here in the US with my team and extrapolate that beyond the US into other countries and other regions. And at the same time, the oil and gas industry was really in a downturn. So then they said, but you can't travel and you can't hire anyone. And so you can work with the technical teams and try to help them understand how to do sales. So a lot of sales coaching was a big part of my role at that point in time. And then our lab actually sold to a private equity company. And I started doing the marketing side of things. And I had never really touched the marketing side of the business at all. And then after they sold to the new company, they came back and they said, well, we're not going to have an international sales manager, but would you be our director of marketing? So I pivoted at that point in time, but my real passion is for sales, sales management. And, you know, I can certainly guide marketing, but that's not where I love to live. That's not where
So
my
it's
passion
interesting
is.
you started working in the lab, but your sales is in your heart and soul. Now, but
Yeah.
do you have training for that? There must be some kind of background training on it, or just innate. You just get it.
Well, because it's more or less educating your clients, right? So
Yeah.
taking the knowledge that you have, and a lot of people who say, I never want to do sales, or that's so frightening. You learn some of the sales language along the way, but I think that anytime that you're not your authentic self, when you are trying to work with a client, they're going to see right through that. So if you're actually working together with a client to provide solutions and help educate them on what is actually going to help them get to the answers they're trying to find and the challenges that they're trying to solve, when you do that, it's no longer sales, right? It's just working together to build a program that's going to give them what they need to achieve their desired results. And that is mainly understanding.
It
So
sounds like
I don't think I don't sell anything. I never have.
it's a
Right.
mindset. It's a mindset, which
I would agree with that.
yeah, I think that's my biggest downfall when it comes to sales is my mindset is I think I just have these old stories in my head that are holding me back. But
Yeah,
it
we
sounds
all
like
see that used car salesman, right? And we think that's what this is
yes,
about. And I have to get them to sign on the dotted line today, and but and maybe it's because we're more on a technical path that I've never felt like I fell into that
yeah,
category
yeah.
whatsoever
Yeah.
at all.
So,
And
okay, do you feel like that there's something an outsider wouldn't know about your industry? Would it be sales or would it be something about your industry?
well,
Something an
obviously, the
outsider
oil and
wouldn't know.
gas has a very big black eye, right?
Yes.
They are not the most. I think one of the easiest way for me to demonstrate that is through the story of Macondo. So Macondo was a horrific thing, explosion that happened here in the Gulf of Mexico, and there was certainly a lot to that. But the public was not educated on what happens. How do you clean this up properly? And at the time, our laboratory was actually running analysis on every single tar ball that washed up onto the beaches of the Gulf Coast. And I traveled during that time to Washington. Now, I was privy to the data, right? So I knew which tar balls were from
Right.
Macondo
Mm-hmm.
and which ones were not from Macondo, because we have natural seeps. I mean, if you walk Long Beach, it's not because they're drilling wells out there that they have all that tar on their beaches, right? It is actually from natural oil seeps that are coming up from the ground. But a lot of the public don't even know that. They have no idea that oil is just naturally coming up. And so I traveled and I was in Washington State with some family, and they said, oh, we've heard that there's tar balls all over Galveston Beach from Macondo. And I happen to know that at that time, not one tar ball on Galveston Beach had been found that came from Macondo. Those were
Right.
all from natural seeps. But I think where we have failed as an oil and gas industry is to help educate. And a lot of that may be because there is controversial issues There are certainly things that we can do better in the oil and gas industry that we are, I think as a whole, we are working on cleaning some of those things up. But interestingly enough, a lot of people don't understand that oil, the oil that we produce doesn't just make gasoline. It
Oh, I know.
makes everyday products, your
Yes.
cell phone, your makeup, the
It's
glasses that we're wearing.
it's in hair color.
It's in everything.
Yes, I
And
know.
so it's not something that's just going to go away overnight. Can we do it cleaner and better? Yes, I think we can. I think one of the other things that I have a difficulty with is we say, okay, we're going to clean it up. And the United States has the most stringent guidelines there are on that industry to reduce the environmental impacts. However, to say, well, we'll just let China do that, or we'll just let some other country do that. We all have one atmosphere. So
Yes.
if they're not following some stringent guidelines, it is not minimizing that damage.
It's affecting all of us
It
for
is
sure.
affecting all
Yeah,
of us.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to the sales, and I want to talk to you about you mentioned that you are consulting as a
Mhm.
sales rep, or not sales
I
person.
do. I do strategic sales solution consulting for companies. I've done it for a couple of the companies that are a part of PROW, where they want someone to come in and look at what is their current sales process, and are there some things that they could do differently? Are there some things that they could do to optimize their workflows for sales? And I certainly
Can
do
you give
that,
me an
and I love
example of,
that.
you don't have to tell us
Okay.
the company or
Yeah.
whatever. Can you give us an example of strategically what you saw and
Mhm.
how you changed it?
So I went in to talk with one of the companies that was a part of PROW, and I would say that person is actually no longer a part of PROW. But I went in and I said, what are you doing now? Right? How are you doing your sales now? Who's your target audience? And through that, you uncover a lot of things that could be missing or things that could be done differently. And so this one company in particular that I worked with, they didn't have a system in place for tracking who they had been talking to, or like there was really almost nothing set up. They're like, well, if we find out about this, then we go talk to this person or we go talk to that person. So I just sat down with them and kind of went through, what does a sales process look like? And if you want to actually hire someone who is specifically designed and designated to do sales, you also need to be able to give them direction on what that is, what that looks like, what you
Mhm.
want that to look like. And so, and it can be starting small. So this actually happened to be with a winemaker, I'll say. And
Yeah.
they really didn't have much going on. They kind of did their own sales. Should they hire someone? Should they not hire someone? And so I sat down and I said, okay, here's what the day in the life of a salesperson working for you should look like. And many times I see that they don't want sales out doing sales, or in their mind, it's very different. They're like, well, we want them to answer the phone and take orders. That's a very different role.
Oh, that is very
Very
different.
different role. So if you're wanting to be more proactive in your sales, what can you do? And giving that person on their team the tools to be able to go out and do those things specifically. But I dig in a lot further. Like I will dig into the numbers. I'll dig into the client base. What did it look like 3 years ago, 5 years ago? What does it look like today? And then if you already have something that's well established and put together well, what are you not doing that you could be doing that's going to take your company to the next level, or be that needle mover that you're looking for? And it can be many things, like they hadn't gone in and talked to any of the local hotel restaurants, right? So you can target this audience, right, with your wine, but how many appointments a day? And it can be as simple as that, because one of the things that people always, or I've seen, not always, but is that they make a call to one person and they're done for the day. I made my sales call, right?
Right.
Well, that's not going to get you very far very quickly, right? And the one thing, you know, Nike has its logo, right? It's logo, not slogan, of
Yeah.
just do it, right?
Just
And
do
it's
it. Yeah.
such a
Yeah.
great motto,
It
right?
is.
Just do it. So in order to be successful in anything that you do, you have to come up with a plan, and then you have to stick to that plan. So you're going to call 10 people today, but you're also going to go knock on 5 doors today, right? So here's your area, go target these hotels in this one particular district on day 1, on day 2, on day 3, on day 4. And then the other thing is follow up. If you don't follow up with your clients, you really are not going to get anywhere. And I think even from my clients, their number one feedback when I was in sales day to day constantly was, you know, Tracie, the one thing that you do better than anyone else I've ever met is that you follow up so quickly and you're spot on. So I take notes at every meeting that I go to. And I can remember one time I was taking notes and I was at a restaurant and the guy couldn't see what I was doing. He goes, "Hey, are you on your phone?" And I lifted up my pad and I said, "I'm writing down everything that you've just said so that I'll remember, you know,
Yes.
what we talked
It sh
about," right?
it shows
So,
that you care. It shows that you matter. That I think the hardest part for me with that is rejection. That's always been is
mm,
my stopping block to
mhm.
help hurt that hurts me in moving forward and when it comes to sales is the fear of
So
rejection.
here's something that I've taught throughout the years. It's never a no. It might be a not yet, but it's not a no, right? And so keeping that door open, even if someone does say, "We're going to go a different direction right now," you know, it's always appreciating where they're at, respecting their decision, and then staying close and following up again, right? How's that going? Are you getting everything that you
It
thought you
really
were going to
does.
get from this experience?
Yeah.
Right? And then that door can always reopen.
Yeah.
And so it's never a no, it's always just a not yet. Or maybe they haven't. I always kind of go back to that saying about when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And so if you've laid some
That's I like that.
foundation,
Yeah. Yeah.
you've laid a lot of foundation with a client, and then all of a sudden you go in and you talk to them about the same thing you might have talked to them about 6 months ago. 6 months ago, they didn't hear it because they didn't see the need
Right.
for it. But
Yeah.
you kind of actually made them start thinking about things, even if it was something they didn't know they were thinking
You're
about. And then
absolutely right. You're
suddenly they're
absolutely
like, "Oh, yes, this is exactly what I've been looking for," right?
right.
My favorite words when I go in to see a client is, "Oh my God, your timing is perfect." Or make a phone call to a client. They're like, "What, were your ears burning?" Or,
Right.
you know, "I was just thinking about you," right? So having that presence there with them and not being afraid of that, not being afraid to lose at that moment,
Yeah.
because you never lose. You either win or you learn.
Yeah. That's a great attitude to have. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what keeps you moving forward. That's why you've had so many great promotions for sure.
Well, and building that in a team has been incredible. I've been lucky enough to have some incredible teams that I've worked with. And you know, I held when I was the sales manager for Weatherford Laboratories, and I had, you know, 6 different individuals who reported to me directly under sales, and then others that reported in different capacities, but helping them and helping them to understand that that's not a no, it's just a not yet, right? To constantly encourage and coach them into doing a little bit more every day, and never saying, "Oh, I just can't do this," right?
Yeah.
But teaching them how to persevere and watching actually each of those individuals go on to do great things in their own careers. And even today, they are like, "But you were my inspiration, so thank you for being
Yay.
who you are," which is incredible, right? And but it's never been like that, because I always feel like we learn so much from one another. So you can have a rookie on your team that has never done sales, but they're going to have opinions and they're going to have insights that you might not have. And so building teams that really work closely with one another and build one another up along that journey, I think is incredibly important.
It is. It is. Okay, I'm going to switch real quick to
Yep.
pro,
Yeah.
and that is what energizes you with pro?
The women of PROW, of course, energize me. You energize me.
You
I'm
bring
so
so
amazed by
much.
you. I've watched you do so much with your own career, Karen Ann, and with your products, right? And getting out there and putting yourself into what would be probably not your comfort zone of doing different things, your little
Yes.
video clips. I'm terrified of doing video clips. I'm like, oh gosh, I'm going to forget all my words and who I
I
am.
hate it.
I think we can all say we probably hate that, but you're amazing. And just watching other women be amazing, right?
Yeah.
And encouraging one another to do the best that we can. And when hard times come, because they're going to happen, right? We're all going to go through something. Really being there for one another and having one another's backs. That's what energizes me within PROW.
Yeah, that's great. We help one another. We push one another to be better than who we are, and as a result, we grow.
And
I
we
love that.
believe in each other. I
We
think at
do.
the end of the day, we totally believe in one another and say, you can do this, and see that vision for them, even if they can't see it. And that encouragement that comes from each one of us for one another is just incredible. I look at, Theodora, who is our president, and
Yeah.
she's just amazing in her own right. And I love, what she wants to accomplish this year with literacy. I'm super excited to be a part of that and to see what we can do with that and how we can impact other people, right? Children, adults with literacy issues, and be able to be a part of that. And it's just so inspiring, and everyone has something different that really inspires them, right? And so it's
And
exciting to be a part of her plan for this year.
yes, I agree. I agree. Thank you so much. Well, we've come to an end of our
Thank you very
little
much.
chat. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, I had such a great time. And again, you're an incredible woman, and I'm inspired by you every day. So thank
I'll
you
tell
for
you
all
what.
you do.
You say, I right back at you, girlfriend. Thank you.